Hello, my name is Libeskind-Hadas. I'm the founding chair of the Kravis Department of Integrated Sciences at Claremont McKenna College in Claremont, California. This talk is entitled Computational Biology for All. It's about a year-long science course to be taken by every student at our college. The objective of this course is to provide students with foundational scientific literacy using contemporary problems in the life sciences as the vehicle for achieving that literacy, and in particular, using computational and data science methods as one of the vehicles for scientific exploration and discovery. By way of background, Claremont McKenna College is a four-year undergraduate liberal arts college that is a member of the Claremont Colleges Consortium. Claremont McKenna has 1,300 students, and the other four colleges are roughly the same size, some smaller, some larger. They include Harvey Mudd, Pitzer, Scripps, and Pomona colleges. On the occasion of its 75th anniversary, Claremont McKenna College has decided to build its own integrated sciences program. Currently, Claremont McKenna shares a science program with Pitzer and Scripps, but the plan is for Claremont McKenna to develop this new program, Integrated Sciences, which will have a number of different features, but the one that I want to talk about today is a new year-long course that will be taken by all of our students. Now, this is important because at most colleges and universities, science majors take a certain set of science courses, and students who say that they're not going to be scientists fulfill a science general education requirement, usually taking one or perhaps two courses that are intended specifically for non-scientists. And those courses are called terminal courses in the sense that they do not fulfill the prerequisites for any future science courses. And this is asking a student at age 18 to make a decision about whether they're going to be a scientist or not before they've taken any science courses at the college level. And our view is that every student can be a scientist together for a year. And so, I'll be telling you more about this course in a moment. Before I do that, it's important that I set the context by telling you that our program is integrative in three different ways. First, rather than organizing around traditional scientific units, physics and biology and chemistry and so forth, we are instead integrating around grand challenges, and those are health, brain, and planet. Meaning that we'll hire faculty in all kinds of traditional disciplines for sure, but they will self-organize around these different grand challenges and do much of their teaching and the research and supervision of students in those areas. Secondly, we're integrating computation and data science into our curriculum from the very beginning, meaning that as early as the general education course I'm about to describe to you, our students will learn how to program and learn foundational ideas in data science. Now, by last count, there are only 5 institutions in the United States that require every student to learn how to program. And with the exception of Claremont McKenna College, they're all STEM-based schools. So we will be the first liberal arts institution to require that every student learns how to program and learn some foundational ideas in data science. Finally, because we are a liberal arts college, our objective is to integrate into the very fabric of the humanities and social sciences, meaning that we're imagining our science curriculum as being in service to the public sphere. So we're motivating the instruction of science by problems and challenges and opportunities that impact society directly. Now let me tell you about the model for our year-long general education course, which will be taken by every student at the college. We're imagining this course as being comprised of a collection of month-long modules. Each module poses an open-ended problem for investigation. We then teach the biology and computational background just in time to provide students with the tools to explore that problem, make their own discoveries, and in particular, to use computational models and simulations as one of the important elements in that discovery process. Not exclusively, there will be bench lab work as well, of course, but computational models, simulation, data science techniques will be taught as important techniques in that exploration. So, in this course, every student will get effectively a CS1, Data Science 1 kind of background integrated into a year-long natural science course. Let me just tell you about maybe 2 modules. An early module where we're just getting started in ideas of computation, in particular we plan to use Python. Our plan is to sequence a portion of DNA from every student in the class. So every student in the class will have access to a section of their genome, and we'll have a collective repository for the entire class, allowing students to do all kinds of interesting things with that data, including the discovery of SNPs, looking at variations of GC content, and ultimately later in the course, using those data, for example, to infer the phylogenies of the human haplotypes represented in the class. But even in the very beginning, in our first module, students are operating on real data and making some explorations on those data, which we believe to be quite compelling, much more interesting than just crunching numbers and using sort of throwaway kinds of homework problems. Later in the course, a more advanced module might look like this. We begin with a motivating question. Can a gene drive eradicate Lyme disease on a New England island? Now, it turns out that there are researchers who have looked at, in particular, using a gene drive to interfere with the cycle between mice and deer and ticks that contributes to a Lyme disease pandemic in island populations, in particular Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. So to begin with, students will read a rather accessible paper that describes this issue. In class, we're going to describe the foundations of CRISPR gene editing, the sort of underlying biology of how that works, which is quite fascinating, the history of how that was discovered. We'll talk about the DNA repair mechanisms and how those can lead to gene drives. Then we'll ask the students, do you think that the gene drives that are being proposed in this paper are actually going to be viable? And so to that end, we're going to use notions of models and simulations of those models. In particular, this gives an opportunity to talk about things like equation-based models versus agent-based models and the simulations that can be used for both of those. So we'll expose students to some very important ideas that recur across the sciences, and then they will implement models that explore the effect of the different parameters on the viability of this gene drive. And ultimately, the students will also engage with colleagues in the philosophy department and the science faculty on questions regarding ethics. For example, who gets to decide whether such a gene drive should be implemented? What are the ethical considerations that need to be involved in this kind of discussion? And ultimately, when students make their discoveries, having built their simulations, explore the different parameters, values, and how they provide different results, they will communicate the results to a general audience through, for example, a blog piece or through a podcast. And so the objective here is to really harness the science in the spirit of a liberal arts context where students are thinking about communication and ethics and the broader impacts. By the end of the course, students will have completed on the order of 8 modules. The last module, by the way, is a capstone module, which is going to be one of a student's choice, leading them to a miniature research project that will result in a poster session at the end of the second semester, open to the entire community. But in the process of taking this year-long course, students will have learned a number of different things. Among them, foundational programming and data science concepts. Students will be quite facile writing programs on the order of 50 to 75 lines, using concepts of iteration, recursion, understanding basic data types, and how to build a simulation, both an event-based simulation, an agent simulation, a numerical simulation, and analyzing and visualizing the data from those simulations, and in fact from data sets that they've collected or have obtained in various means. They will have learned some basic statistics ideas, including linear regression and several statistics tests, and importantly, understanding how you decide which statistical test should be applied in a given scenario. We'll do some elementary hypothesis testing. What does it mean to have a nullifiable hypothesis? We'll look at ideas in data wrangling, not particularly advanced, but still allowing students the opportunity to understand that when they receive a data set, it may not be pristine and there may be some work to be done before they can use it in the context that they wish. And of course, visualization will be important as well. In addition, they will learn foundational concepts in biology, particularly in genomics. They will have some exposure to bench lab methods and observation, and experience in developing and simulating computational models, as mentioned earlier. Most importantly, all of these things will contribute to a level of scientific literacy that will allow our students, whether they're scientists or not downstream, allow them to reason about how science works from the perspective of generating data, looking at those data and generating hypothesis, then testing that hypothesis, building models, and repeating that process. Also understand the idea of scientific peer review so that when our students in the future look at a result in the popular press, they understand how it got to the journal in which it was published. They understand all of the processes that were involved in getting to that point and giving them a better set of tools to reason about future scientific discoveries. Our plan is to begin developing our department from one faculty, that's me, to 25 faculty over the next 6 years. So over the next 6 years, we'll be growing at roughly 4 faculty per year. The new year-long general education course, which I've described to you, we plan to pilot within the next year. Then, over time, we'll be developing upper division curricula in majors in the areas of health, brain, and planet, those grand challenges that I described earlier. And in those curricula, which will have very deep integration of the sciences, computation within the sciences, and integration with the humanities and social sciences, in those curricula, our students will continue developing the themes, the concepts, scientific concepts, computational and data science concepts that they learned in their GE course. If you'd like to learn more, please go to this link and also feel free to write to me. I'd be happy to talk to you in more detail. Thank you.